Hello again, everyone. I have the pleasure to introduce the next topic, which is somewhat of a pivot to everything we talked about today, and that's Poland, the country. So one might ask itself, what is it that Poland in general has to do with the Israel Dealmakers Summit? And as we move into the session, I actually want to share very briefly a few insights and facts with you to think about them and carry with you as we walk into the session. So first of all, there's a lot of interest when we look at innovation between Poland and Israel. If you think about probably two major aspects that we at Startup Nation at least identified, the first one is the classic one where Poland is a very interesting market for a variety of Israeli innovation. Probably the most known one is fintech. We see leading financial institutions in Poland such as PZU or Alior Bank being potential consumers and implementers of Israeli technology around fintech, insurtech, and so on. But I think what's more interesting is the Polish focus on jumpstarting the local ecosystem and then cross-pollinating it with the Israeli one. And we see that across many aspects, whether it's the investment the government has in Poland in acceleration processes, whether it's their PFR Ventures, which is a fund of funds, whether it's potential for co-innovation programs where we'll have Israeli entrepreneurs working with Polish entrepreneurs to basically solve and tackle Polish technological challenges. And the other side of that coin is actually the move of Israeli venture capitals to establish some sort of a local presence in the Polish market. So we see Giza, we see Pitango looking at establishing a local presence and scouting for local talent over there as well. So as we move now into the session about Poland, don't think about just about a country, but think also about a potential partner for everything that we look at from an Israeli perspective on cross-pollinating those two ecosystems and creating something which is bigger than just 1 + 1. Thanks very much.
Start in Poland.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here for the session, Poland Best Kept Secret. We would like to give you a short introduction to Poland's tech scene as we have seen it develop and working with Israeli and American companies, because we think the story about innovation and technology in Poland hasn't been told fully, so we're very happy for the opportunity. And a big shout out to Startup Nation, who's been working with us on many levels. Since moving from the centrally planned to free market economy, Poland has really started being a huge contributor to the tech scene. Many of you are working with companies in Poland, and many of you are working with companies in Poland without knowing you are working with companies in Poland, because some of the tier 1 banks in the US already have outsourced not only their back office operations to Poland, but also increasingly the middle office operations. So they're very obviously comfortable with doing that, and we want to tell you why that has happened over the last 25 years by introducing you to our panelists. We have Minister Tadeusz Kościński, Undersecretary of State at the Ministry of Entrepreneurship and Technology, a banker by trade with a long career in the City of London and then Santander in Poland and Europe. Always worked across business and technology and moved to administration about 2 years ago. We have Wiland, Managing Director at Rothschild, Malgorzata Kacprzak, Security and Privacy Manager, Google USA in San Francisco, and Rafal Milczarski, CEO of the Lot Polish Airlines and CEO of the Poland Aviation Group. That's the biggest group in Central and Eastern Europe. So let me move on to Minister Kościński. So Poland is the sixth largest economy in Europe. It has an internal market of 38 million people. It's a great gateway to 500 million market where people and goods and services move freely. What has happened in Poland in terms of its current state of economy and innovation, and what are the plans for the future?
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for attending this panel. I think Poland is going through a metamorphosis, in fact, a very fast going into a small revolution. To put it all into perspective, what's happening. And now I think we have to step back a bit and see what's happened over the last 70 years, in fact. So we went out of the centrally planned economy, basically as a bankrupt country, hyperinflation, hyper unemployment, very little know-how in the country. So in the early 90s, we attracted in capital into Poland, which was basically dumb capital. Or the capital was good, but the jobs were dumb. In what I call, we were in the imitation economy. So we were competing with our competitors on price. So low margins, low salaries, very little money invested in research and development. However, we've done very, very well. The Polish economy has actually been well rebuilt over the last 25 years. It's one of the few countries in the world in the last 25 years which has continuous growth. We've more than tripled our GDP, and we've gone from record high unemployment of 40-odd% to now record low level of 40%. So we have to reset the economy to go from imitation to what we call innovation. So it's not now important to attract investment in Poland to just create jobs, but it's more important to actually attract investment which is representing high tech, working with our universities, developing supply chains in Poland, working with the whole community in developing the supply chain. So a totally new economy.
What does Poland have to offer to the Israeli entrepreneurs, capital, and the American companies?
I think Poland, first of all, it's as you said, it's the sixth largest economy in Europe. It's the largest economy in Central Europe. It's 38 million people. We have Warsaw City, a new city with lots of students. We have 10% of the students in Europe are actually in Poland. All very well talented, educated. 90% speaking English, 60% speaking German. But we don't only have Warsaw, we have lots of other, unlike other countries in Central Europe, we have more than just the one city. So we don't just have Warsaw, we have Kraków, Katowice, Poznań, Wrocław, etc. So lots of cities with universities. We're also part of the EU, so we as you mentioned, there's no customs borders, there's no legal barriers between Poland and the 500 million people in Europe. Plus also, I think our people, our students, as I said, are very, very talented. When you look at international competitions in IT, then first is always China, the second is always Russia, and the third is nearly always Poland. So I think our students are very talented.
Last question. Tell us a little bit about what government is doing, modeling the Startup Nation approach, the Israeli approach, in terms of how we want to jumpstart the tech scene even further.
Yes, I think it's very important that we recognize that it's the micro and the SME companies which are important to the economy. They produce, I think, over 70% of the GDP. So we've done a lot, and we still have a lot to do, of course. We've created what we call a simple company in Poland. So it's very easy to set up a company. We've reduced the corporate tax on small companies to absolute minimum. The social security contributions are adequate to the income, and as opposed to some date in a calendar. We've created the largest seed fund in Europe for seed capital for startup companies. And just recently we announced the Poland Prize, so for companies wishing to set up in Poland are also eligible for financing. And also, in fact, today in Poland, in the Parliament, we're passing an act which makes the whole of Poland an economic zone. So you don't have to go to an economic zone somewhere in Poland. The whole of Poland is an economic zone. So you have the benefit of up to 15 years corporate tax-free.
So Anna, from an investment perspective, in the budgetary phase 2014 and 20, Poland has been the largest beneficent of the recipient of the funding, EU funding, over 108 billion euros. I mean, Rothschild has been in Poland for a long time. What's your perspective?
Well, as you say, Rothschild has been in Poland for over 20 years. And we have grown together with the market ever since the capital markets and the M&A activity has restarted. And we've heard about the growth, and that growth has been pretty impressive in terms of GDP, and there are many reasons for it. An important reason for that is obviously, the EU accession, but also the fantastic track record in attracting FDI. If you remember just one number, $100 billion have been invested into Poland over the last years. And as Rothschild, we have helped in a number of transactions bringing foreign investors into Poland. That's a tremendous, track record. And we have seen in one of yesterday's presentation in the happiness index, and Israel was actually quite high there. We haven't seen Poland, surprisingly, because we are also a happy nation. But if you look at other indices, like Doing Business by World Bank, we're actually there ahead of Israel and ahead of most Central Eastern European economies. That all together, obviously builds a good momentum. But growth and FDI in itself is not enough. And then do we have the right ecosystem here, to bring in this startup nation model to develop into a technology hub? And then think about the key elements of that, being the pool of talent, being the entrepreneurial spirit, and the execution skills. And I think we do have them. If we talk about the pool of talent, the minister just mentioned, how many students we have, and a lot of technological, universities in Poland, they, produce on an annual basis a large pool of students. And entrepreneurial spirit, I think we have it in our DNA, and it's been undiminished over the years and actually flourishing. And what I would say is the younger generation now, this entrepreneurial spirit comes with global ambitions, and clearly technology is the area for the global ambitions to come through. And then lastly, for execution, there's a lot of support and institutions that help that for the young startup communities. For one, there is a number of innovation centers, accelerators, those related to technical universities, private ones, industrial ones, the economic zones. This all obviously is helping. There's a growing local VC community, and I'll tell you that VC community immediately links with the VC community here in the Silicon Valley and brings a lot of the young Polish companies to meet investors right here quite early on. And then lastly, we have both private and state-sponsored initiatives that help with that. And we see already the results, and we see some successes over the years. Poland has developed into a business process outsourcing center and has grown thousands of high-tech IT jobs. It has attracted a number of R&D centers of multinationals. Over 40 of those have opened recently. Obviously bringing in, again, technological developments. And last but not least, we have Google, who's been an important part of that ecosystem, and I'm sure Malgorzata will talk about it. So all of that has created an ecosystem in which I think we will continue to develop.
Thank you. Malgorzata, so Google has two big offices in Poland. One is R&D for cloud, which was opened after one of your 6 global campuses were opened, which was opened after you opened a small office. So you obviously must have been happy with the results you've been getting. So one of the leading US banks that have set up in Poland, a phrase I really loved when they shared it with me, very succinctly characterizing the market, was that in Poland they see this trend of under-promising and over-delivering. They're amazed at the engineering power. They're amazed at the, we have a different name for it, but kind of a chutzpah, which we share with the Israelis a bit. So, it's about, we'll do whatever it takes to get things done. And I understand there are so many engineers at Google that are actually, you're sourcing from Poland. So tell us a little bit about why Poland is important for Google.
Absolutely. Google has recognized Polish talent and Polish potential. And Poland has such a rich environment to build businesses, environment for entrepreneurship and tech development. I'm going to walk you through some of the partnership that Google is having with Poland. So the first one is definitely the business hub. So Poland, which is Wrocław and Warsaw offices, this is the biggest business hub in the Central and Eastern Europe that Google has. There are 400 employees together with a vendor ecosystem that's 1,800. The Wrocław office is a multilingual group servicing 11 markets, focusing on process improvements, business excellence for our AdWords customers. Wrocław office is also third largest GTech hub in EMEA after Dublin and Ireland. Wrocław office has been massively growing, and in the nearest future, we plan to grow up to 50% and serve more all of the Google advertising products. So that's Wrocław. The Warsaw office has Poland-based management that serves 20 markets worldwide. So these are the offices. There's also the R&D center that have been mentioned, which is the cloud center. I can't talk about Google and Poland without really mentioning the brilliant talent of Polish engineers. So Google, in recognition of this talent, opened the R&D cloud center that hires 180 brilliant Polish engineers that build global Google Cloud solutions. This center doubled in numbers in last 2 years. So they're entrepreneurs, they're engineers and business, but a massive potential is also in the local entrepreneurs, Polish entrepreneurs. And in recognition of that, Google opened one of the locations in Warsaw. So there are 6 worldwide locations, they're called campuses, where Google supports local entrepreneurs and helps them to build local businesses. And Warsaw is one of them, Tel Aviv is another one. Campus Warsaw, it's a place for entrepreneurs from Europe to come to connect, to build their businesses, network, and really expand. So far, there are 13,000 active entrepreneurs that are part of Campus Warsaw. 18% of them is coming from abroad. And this campus is massively growing. And so far, there's 1,000 jobs that have been opened by just 13,000 entrepreneurs, like local jobs. So definitely Google is expanding its presence and appreciating the potential that Poland has to offer and this trajectory of like what's currently there. But the massive potential in the Polish tech scene is definitely recognized and is developing.
Great to hear that. So, Rafal, you represent the largest aviation group in Central and Eastern Europe, and with all that activity going on, people coming in and out, and I find that amazing living in Warsaw because you feel like one day you're meeting with a group of Americans, another day with a group of Chinese, and then it's Israelis. So it's like a very, very international environment. And you're in the middle of it all. You run the airlines. And how are you preparing for now and for the future? Because you have big plans in terms of setting up a port in Poland. You're going to be needing a lot of solutions, a lot of best-in-class assets. What are your plans?
Well, yes, it's a great pleasure for me to be here. And of course, I'm a typical Pole. I'll always seek opportunities. So I happened to be in Seattle accepting our first 787-9, and it was very opportune to come and meet you here and to invite you all on not Polish Airlines flights. I hope that Poland will become a focal point of your interest in the future, and I hope that you will always use not Polish Airlines as your carrier. But of course, on a more serious note, that is the fundamental of our business. Lot Polish Airlines is the fastest growing airline not only in Central Europe but also in Europe as a whole. We have during the last 2 years we have grown on average. Our passenger numbers have grown on average by around 25% per annum. This year we are increasing our capacity by over 40%. So actually this is a fine example of a company that has managed to restructure itself and actually build a meritocratic structure within a state-owned environment, which normally people say it's almost impossible. But I think thus far we are succeeding and we're doing great. There is a very good perspective for the development of aviation not only in Poland but also in Central Europe, because it's a great region. We still do want to achieve things. And I think all the positive things that are said about Poland and the region, they are said because of the people that live there. We have all We have all lived through communism. We always wanted to be part of the Western world. Now we want to achieve whatever we can achieve. And this is why our economic growth is fantastic. This is why we have so many startups. This is why so many people invest their energy into development of their minds and developing the development of various projects. And therein lies a huge opportunity, which is recognized by the Polish government. We are actually going to turn our relative weakness of, I would say, structural underdevelopment into a great strength. So actually, we have demonstrated as Lot Polish Airlines that we can grow successfully, we can grow profitably, and we are running out of airport capacity. And in fact, Europe's new global airport, and I hope very much Europe's preferred airport in the future, most functional, seamless, fantastic, will actually be built in Poland, in the heart of Poland, with good access for within perhaps 2-hour train journey of the entire population of Poland, but more importantly, with great access for all the Central Europeans. And I'm saying this because, of course, we need this project as an airline. And we need customers as an airline, and any investments and visits of you all will be the backbone of our business. But fundamentally, we know very well, even though we're not yet there, as LOT and as Polish Aviation Group, that in order to be successful, we will have to take the energy of the mind, the energy to innovate, and put it into work for us for the future. Because we have a very unique opportunity to reshape the structure of a journey fundamentally. At the moment, the journey starts at the airport with a brutal procedure, security screening and everything else. We would like to change it into something completely different. And for that, we will need the energy of all those innovators like yourselves. We would like to make the journey as seamless as possible. So why do you need to carry your own luggage to the airport? Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have to travel your own car to the airport. Maybe you can take Uber or Uber Air or whatever it is. In fact, this will be, I would say, a great project for all the innovators around the world. And we wanted to make it the best project in the world, so I'm sure the government will be very open for any cooperation. And I'm here speaking about this because I would like to invite you all to participate. Let us create world's best airport and hence best aviation sector for the whole Central Europe, but also for the whole of Europe. I hope I'm...
Thank you. We're here. We're ending the panel, but we would welcome any questions you have and any suggestions or startups or solutions. You have best people here to talk to. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.